Good to go. Awesome.
Go.
Hello, China. Nice to meet you. I'm Simon. I'm your friendly neighbourhood magician and all that kind of malarkey. Very, very easy. Just reach in there, take a card out, anyone you want. Lovely, wonderful. Have a look at it and all that kind of goodness. All good. Wonderful. Show it to the camera as well, just so we all know. Yes, wonderful, good, epic. And just whack that in there. Now, China, I'm going to ask you to do something a bit weird, a bit odd, but I want you to just put your hand up for me and put your other hand on top. Awesome. And I want you to just imagine that deck is heating up a little bit. Okay, because there's one of those cards in there that you didn't know about. There's one of those cards that has one of those heat-sensitive inks on it. If we heat it up, then the heat-sensitive ink will hopefully change the colour of the card. That's the plan. So you take your hand off for me. Lovely. Let me go through here. You see, there should be one card in here. It's now red. That's kind of cool, isn't it? Yeah. So a weird little oddity of magic. And hopefully this one should be the card that you chose. Yes. Yeah. Awesome. Now, China, we're going to do it again. Don't worry. Okay. So I'm going to try again. So this time, just say stop from China.
Stop.
Lovely. Yeah, have a look at that one. You got it. You know what it is.
Yeah.
Yes. Wonderful. Perfect. And put your hand up for me again. Lovely. Put your other hand on top. See if we can get it again. Okay. So just imagine it's really heating up, really getting in there. Wonderful. Okay. Take your hands away. Lovely. So there should be one more card that's now turned red. Your card should hopefully have turned red in the deck. Your card should have turned red, China. Hang on. Yeah, they should have. Hang on. There is one card that's red.
No, that better not be my card.
Turn it over, China. Have a look. That's party tricks, guys.
That's so good.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to series 2 of Party Tricks. That's right, it was so good it got another series, apparently. I don't know, maybe they just need space filling up. Let's do this anyway, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be good stuff. I'm your host Simon South, and we have a change of format this time round. Last time I was talking about all the stuff that was going on and what's on and all that kind of awesome magic-y goodness that you could go and see out in the wide world. And this time, this series, we're actually talking about the history of magic. So talking about people that have made massive influences in magic as you see it today. People that you might not have heard of, some people that you might have heard of depending on whether you're into magic or not. So we're going to get back to basics really. You're talking about a man that you probably haven't heard of, but is the reason why a lot of close-up magic today exists in the way that it does. His name is Di Vernon, and Di Vernon is some of his tricks you will still see today, and there are loads and loads of magicians that knew Di Vernon. He was born in 1894 and died in 1992, so he was 98 when he died. Very, very old man, but he basically lived in the Magic Castle by the end of his life. The Magic Castle is a lovely, massive kind of secret. It's kind of a secret magic club, but that's not that secret. It's secret because you can only get in if you're a member, and you have to go through loads of audition processes to go in as a magician. But people like Marilyn Manson and Tom Cruise and all these big massive celebrities, they all have membership to the Magic Castle. So whenever they're in LA, they just go along and check it out and go and enjoy themselves for an evening. So that's where he ended up spending the remainder of his life after he went through everything. So let's get into talking about him. So his name was originally David Frederick Wingfield Verner, which is a lot more hard to say than Di Vernon. He learned his first trick at age 7, and often said when he was talking to other magicians that he'd wasted the first 6 years of his life, which is quite funny. He studied mechanical engineering in Ontario, but moved to New York at the start of World War I. That's right, a Canadian magician that's actually massively famous in magic. Who'd have thought it? For those that know magic, I think Jay Sankey's trying to do the same thing, but we'll try our best. Vernon's first ever magic book is one that a lot of magicians know. A lot of magicians have studied through years and years and years. It's The Expert at the Card Table by Michael S.W. Erdnase. Now, no one actually knows who S.W. Erdnase is or was at the time. Some people think that it was a pseudonym and it was a reverse of his name and that kind of bizarre, loads of interesting things. But basically, this book studies how to be a card cheat. So how to do certain false shuffles and things like that. So the first part is all about how to cheat at cards, and the second half is all about experiments that you can do with cards. So he basically, by the time he was 13, Vernon had learned everything. He had the book completely off by heart. He knew everything there was to know about cheating at cards. So he began to use Di as his first name rather than David because a newspaper accidentally shortened his name to Di, and he liked it and decided to pick it up after the newspaper had done that. And he changed Werner to Vernon. So instead of David Werner, it was now Di Vernon. Because at the time, when he was sorting out his own stage name and trying to get everything together, there was an ice skating double act, bizarrely, that were quite famous. They were massive. And the male counterpart, so there was a male and female ice skating double act. The male, his surname was Vernon, and whenever he was doing interviews with newspapers or anything like that, they used to call him Di Vernon. They used to get him mixed up with the ice skating guy. So he decided to roll with it because he got fed up of trying to correct people. So he rolled with it, and that's why he was called Di Vernon. So yeah, here's some cool useless facts you're getting about history magic. Yeah, that's all good. Okay, here we go. Vernon actually met Harry Houdini. It was that old. It was that long ago. Harry Houdini basically set a challenge where he would say any magician that would come and perform for him. Obviously, we all know who Harry Houdini is. Harry Houdini was adamant that he was the king of cards. He would do stuff. I'll just show you a quick little demonstration of certain things that Houdini would do. So he'd do, stuff like, making cards vanish and appear again, and silly fun things like that. But obviously, doing it more properly and more like, serious and Houdini-like. But Houdini laid down a challenge with magicians, and the challenge was that if any magician comes and shows Harry Houdini a magic trick, and if Harry Houdini cannot figure it out after 3 times of them seeing the magic trick, then he's fooled them. He was adamant that if a magician came and showed him a magic trick 3 times, he'd be able to tell them exactly how it was done. Essentially what Penn and Teller are doing now with Penn and Teller Fools, but they're obviously only seeing it once. Harry Houdini was saying, if you show me a card trick 3 times. And so what Vernon did was, he went I'll show you a quick, my demonstration of what it was that he would have done. Obviously it won't be as good as Vernon. But so it was, so Houdini would pick the card would go into the deck, show the card was in the middle of the deck, and then he would just go, right, okay, so watch your card now is going to jump to the top. There we go, like that. And that's what he did for Houdini. Houdini made him do that 7 times and still had no idea how he did it. It was something completely new to Houdini, and so Di Vernon made Houdini admit that he had fooled him. And then it went on all of his posters, all of his leaflets, everything that went out, the man that fooled Houdini, which is a wonderful PR term, isn't it? It's great, it's really, really good. And obviously, the reason why we call him, so Di Vernon has lots of different, obviously he's got the stage name Di Vernon, but he was known in magic as the Professor. The reason for this is because every magic book, or any magic book that had ever existed, it felt like he had studied it. He knew so much about everything to do with the art. He would know like 17 different ways to palm a card and was working on trying to figure out 20 more, like that kind of guy. He was really, really trying to figure out loads and loads of different stuff. I think he published, I didn't write this bit down, but I think he's published about 7 or 8 different magic books, probably more. I know he worked with Lewis Ganson on a few of them, creating new magic books and things like that, which is quite cool. So they're respected for years and years and years doing magic. He actually didn't go full-time pro till he was 40. He never had a proper steady job or a proper steady career. He used to just play around doing card tricks, and so he worked as an engineer, obviously, and let's see where we are there. He occasionally performed in nightclubs, and he worked on cruise ships in South America. He toured the Philippines as an entertainer in World War II for the troops, which is kind of cool. His main source of income was actually cutting silhouettes. So I don't know whether it's probably it's a very old thing where someone would come up to you and they'd have a white piece of paper and a black card, and you'd go and see them and you'd pay them, I don't know, probably £1 nowadays, £1's £5, something like that, and they would look at you, and within 2 minutes they will have cut a silhouette of your face, and they would attach it onto the white card and attach it onto the black card, and give it to you, or vice versa, black card on white card, and give it to you. And that's what he did I think it was 30, yeah. So there we go. So that's what he did in the 20s and 30s as his main source of income. So he was a silhouette artist. So, yeah, he used to do that a few hours a week, and that was enough to support him and his family. Because he used to charge between 25 cents and 50 cents back in the day for a silhouette, when most people were making 20, and that was taking 2 minutes of his time. Most people were making at that time 25-cent minimum wage, so that was 25 cents an hour. So yeah, so he was making a fair whack just doing that for a few hours every day. So he spent most of his life actually traveling America, looking for card cheats. So he used to try and find anyone that he'd heard of that was cheating at cards, or obviously there was a whole underground circuit of people that could do this sort of thing. So anyone that he'd heard of or picked up on the grapevine, he would go and see them and try and learn what it was they did, whether it was a specific false shuffle, whether it was something different or odd, and they used to compare and contrast and figure out what was the best method to do certain things. So amongst the magicians, he's credited with inventing or improving many standard close-up effects with cards, coins, and other small items. And his cups and balls routine and linking rings routine, which you've probably seen many times. Cups and balls is a classic of magic that dates back to Egyptian times apparently, and loads of other things. But his version of the cups and balls is the one that you will see today. So when you see street performers doing the cups and balls, when you see anyone doing it on TV, Ricky Jay, for instance, who did it on TV a while ago, well, it was a while ago, he's died now, unfortunately. But yeah, so like Ricky Jay did a version of the cups and balls, that was Di Vernon's version. So yeah, any version of the cups and balls that you see now has direct link and roots to Di Vernon's version. Also, his linking ring routine, if it uses 6 rings, chances are it's Di Vernon's version, which is Symphony of the Rings, which is a beautiful, wonderful linking rings routine. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's stunning. So yeah, so his magic is still living today, and it's still going on. So I'd say years and years and years of him just buckling down and doing stuff and creating stuff and having arguments with people, and he spent the last 30 years of his life as magician in residence and the star attraction at the Magic Castle. Where he actually mentored well-known magicians like Ricky Jay, who I mentioned then, Percy Dionysus, Doug Henning. You all remember Doug Henning? Oh my God, Doug Henning! The mad crazy hair and stuff, and the big lovely jumpsuits, just running around on stage. Like, yeah, Doug Henning! It's so good. I love Doug Henning. Larry Jennings, who's another amazing card magician. Bruce Sevon, Michael Lamar, who is basically doing Di Vernon's work now. So Michael Lamar has created loads of magic effects and all that kind of thing, like created amazing stuff, and that's all off the back of being taught by Di Vernon. So Michael Lamar is the guy that you go to now when you want to learn new stuff. It's really good. And he also trained John Carney as well. So when Vernon died in 1992, his body was cremated, but the ashes were interred at the Magic Castle, which is where he spent the last 30 years of his life. So yeah, I think that's a nice little roundup, nice little history of one of the most prolific people in magic that you probably never heard of. So definitely go and check him out. You can see his videos on YouTube. They have been uploaded there, and he always sat there, always there with a cigar in one hand and talking like this because he was a gold grand, and doing some card tricks and stuff. So yeah, fantastic, really good. I believe he wrote Stars of Magic, if I'm correct. I'm not sure. Or something with Stars of Magic in the title. I know Roy Benson wrote one as well. But very easy to find his work. If you look at the Royal Road to Card Magic as well, which is done by Hugh Garden Baird, that is a big massive collection of card tricks that everyone is told you should learn this as a beginner, but loads of Di Vernon's work is in there and uncredited. So you can just, if you get that book, you can read loads about his stuff. I believe in future copies. So now it is credited with taking part in learning bits and pieces from Hugh Garden Brow. But at the time when it was first released, it was uncredited, and he got a bit annoyed about that. So yeah, so go and check it out. Really good stuff. Okay, so that's my history of Di Vernon, done quickly and briefly. So let's talk about magic. That's what we're all here for. Let's talk about magic fun times. And today we will be talking about sawing a lady in half. Exciting, I know. Now, a lot of you obviously, you've seen this as a classical illusion. Now, I thought it'd be fun to kind of delve into the archives and find out where it came from and that kind of stuff. So obviously it's been around for a very long time. Even just the thought of the idea of this has been around for a very long time in magic. So we thought we'd come up with a few things. Apparently there remains debate on the origins of sawing a woman in half. Some people say that the originator was actually a man called Turini, and it was performed for Pope Pius VII in 1809. Apparently, but we've done our research. Obviously, Jim Steinmeier, who's a massive magic creator of huge illusions and that kind of thing, has worked and is a massive historian as well. Has actually done his research, and he's found that even though this account was written up by Jean Robert Houdin, who is another famous magician, it was written up in his memoirs. Apparently, it's not true. So, although we've thought for a few years that that's where it came from, apparently it's untrue. He just wrote it up as something to put in his memoirs to say that this happened and this was seen. And yeah, it's bizarre. But obviously but considering the idea has been around since 1809, it first came to the general public in, I believe, 1921. So the idea of it has been around for years and years, whether it was fictitious or not with the Great Turini. The idea is that it has been there, and it was finally actualised by a British magician, of all people, called P.T. Selbit. P.T. Selbit, not to be confused with P.T. Barnum, obviously, because I accidentally did that the other day when discussing this with someone else. I was like, oh, P.T. Barnum! No, he didn't. No, it's P.T. Selbit. P.T. Selbit created it in 1921 and performed at the Finsbury Park Empire Theatre in London. And his trick was billed as soaring through a woman. And it was completely different to what we'd imagine it today. So how he did it was he had a big, massive wooden crate. Massive wooden crate. The idea was that he'd put the woman in this crate, and there would be a rope that was attached to her arms, and attached to her legs, and attached to her neck. And he'd get members of the audience up, and they would hold onto the ropes as they were coming out the holes in the crate to make sure she couldn't move. And then he'd get a big, massive saw and slice through the crate. So the idea was that there was no possible where for her to go. She had to be in the crate. There was no wiggle room or anything like that. She had to be in there. So he was actually soaring through. So a completely different look on how we know the illusion to look today. I've seen a version of that done by if I can remember now. It was in the Illusionist show a few years ago. And I can't remember his name, but it was the gentleman and the enchantress. I remember their nicknames, can't remember their proper names, but them themselves are massive, huge illusionists, and they did a version of it where they the enchantress was strapped down with a box over her head with rope attached to her ankles, and rope attached to her neck so that she couldn't get away, and talking the entire time as he just put a big massive saw through her. It was amazing. It was really good, but I think it's as close to the original as we will ever see. So yeah, definitely go and find that out. I'm sure if you put it into Google or whatever, you'll find it. But yeah, so then we have we come across in 1921 again, but later on in 1921, obviously the myth has been born of the soaring half illusion has actually happened. It's real. It's going well, and it reaches across the pond to America, to a guy called Horace Golding. Horace Golding is a magician in the States, obviously, and he presented his first version, and it looks a lot more familiar than the way that P.T. Selbit was doing it. So how he did it was he had he was soaring through the middle of the box rather than soaring through it, and he had two boxes. So the idea was that she'd be lying down like this rather than inside a crate. She'd be lying down, and he got a big saw and sawed through the middle of the woman, and then got two plates and put the plates in at either end, which you'll still see today, putting the plates in at either end, and then he'd open it a little bit to show that she'd been completely sawed in half, which is something that P.T. Selbert didn't do, and then closed it up again, and then pulled them back out again, and she was back to normal, and she was all good and wonderful. So that's where that's the original, and that's what we still use today in many versions of the Saurian half illusion. It's still exactly the same today, and that's probably what you've all seen. And later on, Horace Golden actually created a version of the same illusion where he got rid of the boxes, so he didn't have the big massive boxes put on top. That they were kind of like collapsible, so it wasn't a box, it was more of like a flap thing, so it was like, it would go like that and down, so they'd go up very briefly when she got in to cover her modesty, and then go down again so that you could see that she was still there, and use a big massive buzzsaw and put the buzzsaw through the woman while she was out in complete thing, so everyone could see what was going on. And David Copperfield actually formed this illusion in a very long time on one of his magic specials. And I believe it was called Turn Back Time or something like that. I believe that's what he called it. Where the idea was that he was strapped down to this table, and there was this buzzsaw coming down, and he had to try and escape from the table, and he didn't manage to escape from the table, and then the buzzsaw cut right through him. And then his stage assistants pulled it apart, as you could see, and then he kind of got up a little bit, and then did some magic, and everything reversed itself, and he got back to normal, and it was really good, really well done. So that's the illusion that we can still see today. And by the end of 1921, the illusion was so popular. Let's see if I've got this right. I think it's Thay's Magic Company. Were selling the illusion, or selling versions of the illusion, fully built for $175. In 1921, which is a lot of money back then, or you could buy the plans to build your own for $5. Quite a cool little thing. Here we go, and also because this has gone massive now. It's been created, it's been done by loads of people, and Horace Golden has pretty much had enough, because every other magician is doing his magic trick, or what he believes is his magic trick. So he actually patents his effect. He decides to go against the fact that magic is secret and everything else, to patent his effect, so that if people are going to try and do his trick, he's at least going to make some money off it. Because he's had enough people doing all this kind of thing, and it's because of that why it's actually kind of okay to tell you how this is done, because it is actually an officially patented effect of magic. It's one of the few of its kind. We can't really patent a lot of magic tricks. Teller went through this big debate recently with another magician who was doing a trick that was similar to his. He went to court about it and everything like that, because of the different ways and the different methods of how this was done and everything else. They found it really difficult to actually sue the man for doing his trick. So it's very hard to patent a magic trick. But obviously, this was the first of its kind. How we have the instructions, as it were, is there are two versions that are patented. It is an official patent as well. You can go and find the patent. Here we go. One variant presents the front box, expecting the box in size, so the people can expect the box, or pretend this is the box. They feel that the box is the same size as a person's chest, when actually it's not. Here we go. Yes, and assess that the victim is arranged in a particular manner. So there wouldn't be a hole here, so you'd be able to have the head here, and the idea is that they would get in the box, they would lie flat in the box, the lid goes on the box, and then they would scrunch up their legs, so pretend this is their legs, and their legs would go here. And it would look perfectly fine, it would look normal. So that's version 1, and that's got a patent. Now, also, in reality, the box the box may be deeper as well, so that allowing the victim to curl up, which is what I've just said. Another variant actually has a fake table, apparently, where the box rests. So this allows the carved out table to be used as a place for the victim to crawl up and avoid the saw. I love that it's patented as victim as well. That's just wonderful, isn't it? Apparently her feet are replaced with fakes that are moved with electric motors. The motors have the ability to move the feet, but only slightly, as no technology exists to be made realistic looking feet, or the ability to move the toes of the feet. This means that the fake feet must wear shoes the entire performance. I love that. Just the fact that he's just gone, yeah, she needs shoes. Like, it's just a great little thing. So how that would work is you'd have the table here, and let's pretend this is your victim. And there is a little carved out section here. So the idea would be that you'd have the fake feet here, just being like, hi, I'm fake feet. Again, box on top. But they would crawl up into this section and and they would be curled up like this. So you would have, this is the top of the table, but this is the carved out section. So the front half would be here, and this is where their legs are. So that allows the sawing in half to happen there. So yeah, obviously, but since then, since the patent, obviously lots of people have been trying to figure out, obviously lots of people know how it's done. Obviously that's because it's been patented, it's public, which means that I'm allowed to say how that particular version is done, but loads of versions now exist that we have no idea. There's millions and millions of different versions of sawing a woman in half, sawing a man in half, sawing a chicken in half, you name it, it's been sawn in half. There's a current version at the moment which is a Coke bottle, where you have a Coke bottle. You put the Coke bottle in this little container thing, and then you get a saw, and you put the saw through the Coke bottle, and then you can move it across there, but there's liquid still in it, and the liquid's not come out, and you can put it back again. There's loads of different things out there. So that's my quick little brief history on the sawing in half illusion. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope that you do actually go on and look into illusions. Illusions are a wonderful thing. Illusions are a really, really nice and wonderful piece of magic. Big boxes and that kind of thing. You don't see enough of them now. You don't see enough of them perform well. So definitely go and check out big box illusions. Some are wonderful. There's an amazing magician called Franz Harari, if I've got that correct. Yes, Franz Harari, who performs the most illusions in 5 minutes. I think his record is 25 illusions in 5 minutes or something like that. It's like some massive number of illusions with some small amount of time, and it's incredible. So definitely go and check that out. So yeah, guys, that's been me for talking about on our first episode of the second series. So yes, hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you all learned something interesting about magic and that you didn't know. And next week again, we'll be talking about some amazing historical people in magic, and we'll discuss another wonderful magic trick as well, probably illusion, I don't know, we'll soon find out. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your week, guys, have a good one, see you soon.